Hey guys, what's going on? So I saw a lot of movies. It is currently June 12th, and I saw everything. I saw everything and more. But this review is going to be for Materialist. My name is Elliot, and welcome to This and That Reviews, where I take a movie and I compare it to a lot of other movies, for good or for bad. And in the case of Materialist, I am going to have to spoil this. But if you wanted my too long didn't watch, I think that 95% of this movie is good, but I really want to talk about that 5%, because I think that 5% is very, very important. And your mileage may vary. You might like this whole movie. You might like all 95% of this movie that I will go into detail, why. I think it's a very smart movie. I think if you loved Barbie, I think that you will love this movie. I got to pretty early on in the movie, and I told my girlfriend that this is going to be her new favorite movie. She's a very heady person. She likes great dialogue and character development and all that stuff. I'm you saw my John Wick. Just give me a knife taped to a gun, and I'm like, your movie is a 10 out of 10. And she loves dialogue. She loves great dialogue. She loves great framing, and it's one of the reasons why I love her. She loves all the things that I would never notice. Not that I don't notice great dialogue. I'm obviously noticing great dialogue here, but it normally takes me a lot longer, or it has to be such great dialogue. I feel like I would notice that the monologue at the end of the Barbie movie is a great dialogue piece. That was a great speech. But she'll take a line out of Barbie and be like, that's a great line. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is a great line. And there's a lot of that. For 90% of this movie, there's a lot of great stuff. When Dakota Johnson gets to Pedro Pascal's apartment, that was the moment where I was like, Brittany's gonna love this. She's gonna love this movie. And then the movie continues, and I think it's fine. But it's the kind of movie where you're like, where is this going though? And where it decided to go is what I need to talk about. But if you wanted my quick thoughts, it's go see this movie. I think that you will love it. The only reason why I went to go see this movie is because it has a higher rating than How to Train Your Dragon on Rotten Tomatoes. And I know that the How to Train Your Dragon rating was 84%. And whatever this one was, I just know that it was higher than that. I remember, for some reason, I remember that How to Train Your Dragon was 84. And all I remember of the Materialist was that it was higher because it was shocking to me. And I was like, okay, I'll go see this. I think that it's a very unique movie. I think that it's a very, the commentary on it is great, which is the dialogue. There is a very long take shot where it's Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal at a sushi restaurant, and it's just a wide shot of them just talking to each other, and that scene is the best scene in this movie. It's great. It's the height of the dialogue in this movie, and it's very smart. It's going somewhere until it doesn't, and I need to talk about it. But if you want to, go see it. If that already sounds interesting to you, go see it. If the Barbie movie was interesting to you, go see it. If you like the three people in this movie, go see it. I think that it's very good for a large quantity of the movie, and I think that you'll like it. And you might even like the 5% of the movie, at which point you'll just love the whole movie. With that being said, I am going to talk spoilers now, because I have to. And so here we go. This being an A24 movie, a lot of people, when the trailer dropped, a lot of people were asking, what is the twist? What's the weird thing that's going to happen in this movie? Because very famously, A24 movies are very weird. Not all of them, obviously. They make some normal movies. But for the most part, whenever you go see an A24 movie, or whenever an A24 trailer comes up, Lamb, Tuesday, Everything Everywhere All at Once, they all have the same kind of DNA where it's like a normal movie and then there's something weird. This movie doesn't have anything weird. The weirdest thing about this movie is their attempt at making Chris Evans the undesirable, schlubby, poor guy that no woman would ever love, right? And it's about as ridiculous as Rachel Lee Cook in She's All That, being the nerdy girl, the nerdy art girl that's so gross and nerdy, and nobody could ever love her because she's so ugly, because she wears glasses and she's nerdy and she wears overalls. And then you look at a picture of, like, you know, Rachel Lee Cook and you're just like, really? This is all you needed to do? Just put her in a sweatshirt and give her some glasses. Now she's the most hideous monster creature. You have Chris Evans in this movie, Mr. Captain America, and all you need to do is just put him in a white T-shirt and give him some like tousled hair and a beard, but not the Captain America beard, just like a gross beard, like a regular unshaven beard. Oh, he's so gross. That's the twist in this movie. The twist in this movie is that nobody could ever love Chris Evans because he's poor and he has a Jersey accent. That's the weird twist in this movie. This movie, I feel like, so the first big chunk of the movie, from the start of this movie, where you find out like that Dakota Johnson is a matchmaker. What is a matchmaker? It is a very dystopian, but maybe real job, at which point Tinder, the character selection screen for Tinder, when you sign up for Tinder, what if that was a person and that person was collating other people and, matchmaking them? So, you go to Dakota Johnson and you say your name and your age and your height, and your ethnicity, and your smoking habits and your political alliance, and your quirks, and you sell yourself to her so that she can then sell you to her other clients, right? And she just matchmakes. And at its surface, that seems like a regular job. But the way that they treat it in this movie is, it feels like if a realtor, instead of selling houses, they sold people. And they sold personalities. They sold, based on your criteria of what you want a woman or what you want a man to make. These are the people that you should, date. You should date my client, this person, right? And it's all based around numbers and facts, and it's very Black Mirror in that way. I couldn't help but think of Nosedive, the Bryce Dallas Howard's episode, which is probably the most famous Black Mirror episode. It felt very dystopian like that. It's not a dystopian movie, and it doesn't go to the insane length that Nosedive does, but that's a good double feature. Like this movie and Nosedive, it's just the idea of love being a commodity, being something that you could pay for, being something that you could algorithm yourself into, in the same way that Tinder does it anyway. But what if that job was given to a company, right? And so the conversation surrounding that entire thing, it's very strange. Because they're her clients, and she's like, I need to find a match for my client because she's so cool, and she's looking for she's looking for a 6'3", 37 to 55 year old white male, must make $200,000 before taxes per year. The conversation that comes out of that is very dystopian, and oh my God, is that all we are? Is that the equivalence of who we are as a person? And that idea is very Black Mirror. And that's what I was going with throughout the first quarter of the movie. It does eventually transition into a regular rom-com, And you know, I don't even want to say it's a rom. It's not even a rom-com. There are comedic things that happen, but I want to say that it's more of a rom-dram. It's dramatic. It's more dramatic than comedic, even though there are jokes in the movie. And I feel like it has just such smart dialogue. And the thing that holds it back for me is the ending. Now, to jump all the way forward to the ending so that I can talk about the ending and then rewind, the ending is that throughout this entire movie, where it's a deconstruction of how difficult it is to find love. As I was going through this movie, definitely the first quarter of this movie, the first half of this movie even, I couldn't help but compare it to my favorite movie of all time, Minority Report. Minority Report came out at a time when I was distrusting movies. It came out at a time when movies like this ending were disappointing me. I just saw a lot of movies that it's like, oh, I would like all of it, and then like I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the beginning, but I liked the rest of it. I liked it, but there was a twist, and I didn't like that they put a twist. I think it was an okay movie, but there was this one thing that I would have changed, and like I didn't like that thing, right? Minority Report is a very complicated movie. It has so many things happening, and every single time I thought that the movie was going to end, I would have a question. I would pose a question in my head, and I'd be like, wait, but like if that makes sense, then what about this thing? And the movie would continue, and then they would answer that thing, and then I'd be like, wait a second, if that's the thing, you know, then what about this thing? And then the movie would continue, and they'd answer that, and then I'd be like, yeah, but like if that thing was that, and then and it relates to that thing, but then like what about this other thing? And then the movie would continue, and then they answered that, and then I was like, I have no more questions. And then it said the end. I don't think it said the end, but I don't think there's a title card that says the end. But that was the end of the movie. And I felt satisfied. I didn't feel like I was smarter than the movie. I didn't feel like there was a plot hole that I missed. Every single time the movie answers a question, it understands that you would pose a different question, and it just keeps going, and then it answers that, and it answers that. And it's a perfect example. It's my example of a perfect movie. It answers everything, being as complicated as it is. And I didn't feel like I was smarter than the movie. Because throughout the movie, I felt like, oh, I'm smarter than you. You know, I'm going to catch you. You know, like if you don't answer this thing, it's not going to make sense. None of this is going to make sense, right? That was me watching it, because that's how I was looking at every movie surrounding that movie that I was watching. And with this movie is so smart for most of this movie that I was like, you know, this movie is so good. I don't like everything that they're saying is so smart. I would have never thought of any of this dialogue. Like, this is so unique. What a unique experience for like a romantic movie. This rom-dram that I'm watching, right? And so, like, as I was going through this, I was like, this is like, it's so good. But it got to a point where I was like, but how is this gonna end? Because for the most part, it starts like Minority Report. It starts showing you a system, which is the Dakota Johnson system of matchmaking. And it shows you that it works. And it shows you that she's good at her job. In the same way that Minority Report starts with a pre-crime mission. And it shows you that pre-crime works. But then, over the course of the movie, different things happen to show you that the system sucks. And that love is much harder than you would think. That love, even if it's everything that you want, it could work for one person and not the other person. And so it starts to deconstruct the system. And in that way, it was like Minority Report, where you find out that John Anderton has a red ball and he's gonna murder somebody. And he doesn't know why. And so the movie continues and it keeps going, and it's like, and the system that Dakota Johnson has built, she is now attempting to use herself. And she's attempting to figure out if she can date. There was a very direct line where they show you that the reason why Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans broke up is because he didn't make enough money and she hates being poor. And that's why they broke up. And it's a stupid reason, but it is her reason. And then there is a separate sequence where she then goes back to Pedro Pascal, and she says, well, my non-negotiables is you have to be rich. And my would like to haves are that you should probably be rich. And he's very rich. And he's also a great guy. There's nothing inherently wrong with Pedro Pascal. Now, in this type of movie, when you have like the rich guy and the poor guy, right? The rich guy, all he is rich, and he's a shitty person. Maybe he's abusive. Maybe he loves his job too much and he doesn't love her, right? In this movie, he's a very genuinely nice guy, and Chris Evans is also a very genuinely nice guy as well. And in that way, it is also unique. And so I also like that in this movie. Where it starts to fall apart for me is literally just the ending. The ending is the idea that Chris Evans is still poor, and now Dakota Johnson doesn't care that he's poor. Because Chris Evans says, if you get with me, I will love you forever. And she goes, well, Pedro Pascal just broke up with me, and that was rich life. I guess I'll date you, because it's the end of the movie and we have to wrap this up. And that's what it felt like, and that's what bothered me. She goes back on a decision that she made earlier in this movie and for her entire life of wanting to be with somebody with money. And I understand that maybe that's her character growth, but they drive home the point that this is at her core who she is. There's a sequence where they're at the wedding, the other person's wedding, and she says that she's materialistic and that she loves fancy things. Now, it's not to say that she couldn't just buy herself fancy things, but I don't think that fills the void that she would also want Chris Evans to buy her fancy things. I don't think, she doesn't seem like the kind of person that would be okay with just making all the money if the other person isn't. And that's not to say that Chris Evans can't. He says like, oh, I'm gonna pick up extra shifts, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I'm gonna love you, right? And I feel like this is the test audience version of the movie. That there was a version of this movie that had a much bolder ending, and test audiences fucking hated it. And I can't prove this. I'm not saying that this is, don't run this as fact, but I can't help but feel like this is the watered down version of this movie, of this ending, of the ending. Like the rest of the movie was the same, but they were like, we don't like this ending, change it. And they were like, all right, well, they get together in the end, the end. And that's how it feels. Because it feels like it comes out of nowhere that she's all of a sudden okay with this. Okay with the idea that Chris Evans is poor. And again, that's not to say that he can never make money, but if that is a deal breaker to her and has been for her entire life, I find it very hard to believe that she could then just be okay with it just because. I don't believe that. I don't believe that from this character. This character that is incredibly stubborn and and smart. And smart in the sense of like, she knows the game. She knows that she could theoretically marry somebody rich, somebody like a Pedro. I guess she does. No, because she doesn't have a high value of herself. Pedro Pascal, like, I guess picks her, and she doesn't even understand why he would pick her. And I guess in the end, like, she realizes maybe it was a humbling experience. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the entire fallout of a rich person was a humbling experience where we don't, maybe it's like just that old saying of like, we find love in what we deserve, or what we think we deserve, not what we truly deserve. That you will love somebody because that's what you think that you deserve, not because that's what you truly deserve. Maybe it's like it's like a metaphor to that. I'm just saying that I felt that the ending on first watch, maybe I'll change my mind tomorrow, but on first watch, I felt like A24, being an A24 film, they had the opportunity to create this romantic movie where there's two guys. And I remember being an A24 film, people were joking that it's like, oh, what's going to be the big twist? Maybe Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans get together. Ooh, wouldn't that be crazy? I think that, like, for the majority of this movie, what they were setting up, setting up the idea that everything is numbers and that everything is like a statistic, right? What if she gets with nobody? What if she gets with what if she is alone at the end of this romantic movie where your male leads are either, Chris Evans or Pedro Pascal, a super rich guy and a super poor guy? What if her choice is, I'm gonna be alone, and maybe that's okay? The idea that she goes against a principle that she's always had for her entire life of, I need somebody as rich as me, or I need to be rich because I like fancy things, or I hate being poor. The idea that she goes with the poor person right after the rich person breaks up with her, or she breaks up with the rich person, and they have like a wedding and a conversation. I mean, I get that they were in love like a long time ago and there's history, but from what we see, we have to buy into their relationship at a wedding where they argue about all of this, and then at the doorstep, in the end sequence, where they say, actually, I will love you forever. And she's like, this sounds great. I'm in. And it just, I was telling my girlfriend, and I'll leave you on this, and you can do with this what you will, right? I love comparing movies to other movies. I told her this. I was like, this is why I made this channel. I never thought about Titanic like this, and it felt, and now I can't unsee it. The reason why this bothered me so much is because it ends how you expect it to end. When you, prior to going to see this movie, you know she's going to end up with the poor guy, because of course she is. That would make sense. That's all of these. That's every fucking one of these. Every one of these, if there's two people, they end up with the poor guy. Because he's the one that gets you. He's the one that truly knows you. The rich guy, he just has the money. He's not a great guy. Like, he doesn't know anything about you. But the homeboy from your hometown, the boy next door from your hometown, he knows who you truly are. He's the person that you run to. You know she's gonna end up with Chris Evans. That's not a twist. At which point, that's what you expect, and that's what they give you in the end of this movie. And I would like to, and I think that when there's that kind of movie, you forget it. They're a dime a dozen. They're called Hallmark movies. They're every single Hallmark movie. Netflix does them. Look on Tubi. Tubi has 1 million of them. Oh, I'm just a simple girl and I can't find love. And oh, there's a rich guy. It's going to sweep me off my feet. Oh, I haven't gotten this text from my old friend back at my hometown. There's so many of them. Titanic. The reason why you remember Titanic is because Jack dies. And I would argue that had Jack not died, you'd also forget that the Titanic even happened. The Titanic is a tragic movie where hundreds of people die. Hundreds of men, women, and children die. People die on the Titanic in that very tragic, from the beginning movie. And the only reason why it's even kind of sad to you is because Jack dies. If Jack didn't die, then it's a happy ending, and oh, it's so great. Jack and Rose, they found love, and they had children, and they met on the Titanic. That was a crazy thing, but thank God that happened, because Jack and Rose are alive and they're spending, they're 90. They're so great and happy. Jack dying makes you feel the sadness that you should feel because the movie is about the Titanic. It ruins the movie if he doesn't die. I feel like that's the biggest argument for him dying. It's that they're the only two people that you care about on this boat. You don't care about any other characters. Any other character that dies, who cares, right? You care about these two characters, and you care about their love, their endless love. And him dying ruins their endless love. And now they have no future. Just like the other hundreds of people that died on the same Titanic. I think that her getting with Chris Evans undercuts the rest of this movie. I'm not saying that the rest of the movie is bad, but I'm saying that if you went with a harder ending, and it's in this movie where finding love is almost impossible. The idea that you could give Dakota Johnson what she wants, the unicorn that she wants, and it's still not good enough. And like the deconstruction of, that the idea of like, it's all about numbers. It's all about statistics. And then you have this person from her past that has not changed whatsoever. He's still poor. He still looks the same. Everything. And that now that promise means something more than what it did before to her. I don't like it. I don't like it as an ending. And I don't know what I would have written. If I had to create a different ending, I don't know what I would have done. But I certainly wouldn't have done the easiest answer. It was the easiest answer. It was the easiest way to finish off this movie. What's the easiest way to finish Titanic? They both survive. Jack is almost gonna die, and oh, the boat, we have 2 open spots. Come on in onto this boat. That would be the easiest answer. And they lived happily ever after. That's the easiest answer. What's the easiest answer for A Walk to Remember? Oh, we found the cure. We found the cure. Come into the hospital. We found the cure for what you have. What's the easiest answer for The Notebook? Oh, we found the cure for Alzheimer's. Just come on in. We just found it here. Let me just give you the shot. Oh, I remember you. I've always remembered you. I've known you my entire life. Of course I remember you. And I will always remember you. And we will live forever because there's a shot. There's a shot to live till you're 200. That's the easiest answer. The easiest answer is a happy ending. The easiest answer in a romantic movie is they have a happy ending. You know what a movie I appreciate? 500 Days of Summer. 500 Days of Summer promotes itself as being not a love story. And they still felt the need to do a happy ending. And disregarding that there was going to be like a 500 Days of Autumn, disregarding that, right? 500 Days of Summer is such a memorable movie because they don't get together. Because it's not a love story. Because if you wanted to, you could watch it as a love story, but you also understand that not all relationships end like that. Sometimes you could love somebody and it doesn't work. Tom overly obsesses about Zooey Deschanel's character, but Zooey Deschanel does not reciprocate any of it. She does not like him throughout the whole movie. But if you're in the Tom mindset and you assume that she does, you just are okay with, with everything that happens in the movie. And then it's tragic at the end. And when you rewatch it, looking at the movie from Zooey Deschanel's character, you understand that he's crazy. He's insane. I understand going through this movie and rooting for Dakota Johnson to find love. I thought that they had a great opportunity to showcase how impossible love is. That even if you truly love somebody, even if you create a perfect statistic and you find that person that fits all those categories, sometimes it still doesn't work. In the case of Pedro Pascal, or in the case of Chris Evans, his endless love that he has for Dakota Johnson, you could endlessly love somebody. And if they don't reciprocate that, if they don't care, if they have a thing about themselves that they need to work through, it could have even ended like that, where she's just like, you know what, I need to work through some stuff. I need to figure myself out. I can't be in this relationship with you because it's gonna bother me that you're poor. And if it just ended like that, not like that, like not on that end sentence, right? But I mean, it could have ended like that, where they don't get together. And she goes back to work. And she starts being more of a realist at work. She starts being like, maybe it's not just all about statistics. Maybe she needs to understand people. One of her problems was in the movie, when the guy assaults her client, is that she didn't know the guy. That it was literally just statistics. And it's not about, who is this person really? Who is this person really? Are they just making up statistics in order to sell themselves better? It was just a very frustrating movie. I wanted it to be great, and it was okay. I think the ending, it felt like Game of Thrones, man. It had the Game of Thrones season, series trajectory. So great. Such great writing. Oh, we need to wrap this up. We need to wrap. We only got 5 minutes in this movie. This movie's been going on for 2 hours. We only got 5 more minutes. All right, just wrap it up. Wrap it up.